I think me making this film and seeing this feature through is not only just to share this with other people, but this is my form of healing. And I think that I need this for myself.
Hi, my name is Asha Bynoe-Berry. I am a BAYCAT studio intern and your host for this season's Backstory with BAYCAT. Today, we've invited My-Hanh, writer, director, and creative producer at BAYCAT.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Good. Yes, it's a pleasure to have you, and I'm excited to, talk to you today about your background and your creative process and all of that fun stuff.
Amazing.
Cool. So, can you give us a brief description of your life before you became a media creator and, became part of the film industry and started your career?
I was originally born and raised in the East Coast, the DC, Virginia, Maryland area. I was there for most of my childhood, high school, bit of college, and then I decided to come out here to the Bay Area and see what kind of opportunities were out here for me. I was here for several years. I met some new friends, kind of got settled in. I've always loved to tell stories, I was always I'm an only child too, so the imagination would just run wild because I pretty much didn't have anyone to play with. So I grew up watching a lot of like music videos and MTV, and there was one show that we watched a lot. It was making of the video or something like that, of like all the music videos and the behind the scenes of how they were making these huge music videos. And I was just like, I loved it. And then coming here, I was kind of like, well, what am I going to do? I met some friends. He was an artist. We decided to come together and kind of work on our off time and come up with this like animation project together, which was fun. We worked on for like a year or two together. Then I was like, I love this. How do I get into this? So I just decided to take a program at SF Film School in the city in SF for a year. And there I kind of learned a bit about each role it takes to kind of come together, part of the production, to make something, to make a film, to make a doc, to make a commercial. I loved it. So I picked up a few gigs as a student while there. I had a 6-month gig after that, like within the year I was there. So I had a 6-month gig that I picked up, several different clients to do some freelancing videos for. And then my thesis film, Budai, which I also made in the last couple of months there. And that one went to the Cannes Short Corner. And I also went to the Cannes Film Festival for that film. So it was a pretty great experience within the first year or two. And I was like, okay, well, if this feels great, let's keep this going.
Right. Exactly. That's awesome. Like, I read a quote earlier today and it was like, if your calling keeps calling, then it's your calling or something like that. Like if it keeps calling to you, keep going for it because there's a reason for that.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like, that calling's been on call waiting this entire time, like when am I going to click over there and talk to her? And I feel
exactly.
like, I'm talking to her.
Every journey has its obstacles and its successes. And speaking as an Asian female filmmaker specifically, how has that journey been like for you? Like, how has it been in that experience, especially in this white male dominated industry?
Well, it's a great question. And I think it's obviously different for everyone and their experience. For me, I feel like I've always loved a challenge, and growing up, again, pretty much by myself and my parents, I was a very big tomboy when I was younger and playing ball. So I felt like I was always the only girl on the court with all the boys. And then, the next stage of my life, I also was a professional billiards player. And so that's a very male dominated industry as well. So I feel like I fought to climb that ladder there, and just, I don't know, I had an amazing experience, just like having this challenge for myself and seeing if I could get there, seeing if I could play with them. Because, at some point you just run into the guys who are just like, girls can't play. Mm-hmm. You can't break the balls as hard as we can. It's just like, okay, let me show you what's up real quick. So I feel scoot over, I felt like I did that. And now I feel like here's my next challenge of being this female filmmaker in this male dominated industry. And not only that, I mean, of color, and, I just feel like it's a challenge that I think that I can't do alone, but I have probably my personal goals that I feel that I will be able to meet and am on
Mhm.
the road to meet, but also as a whole, as a community, that we all do the same thing and strive towards the same goal.
Right. And it's cool to see like now the way the industry is changing. I feel like I agree with you, like building those communities with other people of color and just other minorities and just bringing that everyone along with you. Like it's so important and just seeing the changes that are happening, especially with a lot of the shows we're seeing or movies and stuff like that. Like, yeah, it's a crazy time to be in film.
It is a crazy
um,
time. I mean, and now with COVID, I feel like this is
mhm.
our opportunity right now. So if you're at home, I hope you're creating in some way, shape, or form. I mean, writing or, whatever, like just keep
Right.
creating to just kind of get that exercise.
So yeah, like how do your personal experiences, since we kind of talked a little bit about that, inform your creative work?
So with Budai, we had a project in school. So we created a commercial, we created a doc, and then on the doc, I decided to do a doc about my family and their journey here during the Vietnam War. I'm Vietnamese, so my mom and
Mhm.
dad came here in '75 when they fled their country. My dad was in the military, and my mom was like 12, so she just escaped and was pretty much lost and pulled from her entire family. Like they had no idea
Wow.
where they were or who they were with. So I, at 30 plus years, was like, I think I'm going to do this piece on my family. And initially, the doc was supposed to be about me and whether or not I would be able to get my family to talk about it, because my mom was like, I would never talk about that. Like, it's just too personal. That's why I haven't found out about it until now, right? And then I just kept talking to her about it and trying to convince her. And I was like, look, this is something we need to share. This is something that I would love to just have for me, myself, my family in the future, my kids to know about their grandparents. And this is a history that I feel like we don't talk about as much anymore and that it's been lost. And I want to, this is something for me that I want to hold on to. So it ended up being that they were open to sharing their story. I went out and filmed this supportive B-roll to tell a story about how they got here and what they went through. And then we had a thesis to end our year, our program. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to try to take this doc and go narrative with it, because I do have a passion for narrative. And so, and I was interested in seeing how that would adapt to a narrative version from that doc. So I was like, let me tell this story about this young girl. And it was kind of basically me, who was also finding out for the first time my parents' experiences during the war. So Budai is about a young girl who, finds an heirloom in her parents' closet, her mom's closet. And she comes upon this like bag that happens to drop out. And inside the bag is like an old cracked picture of like my mom and her family as a child. She was like 12, I think maybe 10 or 12 in that picture. And then this ripped and tattered shirt. The young girl has a moment in the mirror with the shirt where she holds it up to her, and then like bam, we take you
Mhm.
to 1975 and this like beautifully set location of Locke near Sacramento. They were so gracious to give us this location. It's like a historic Chinese museum now, where they just like literally gave us all of the property for like a couple days.
Yeah.
So that was amazing. And we filmed it there. And then I decided to have no dialogue for Budai because Asian representation was still, almost non-existent compared to how it is now. But it was hard to even find one Vietnamese person to play in this short. So most of the people were kind of like, there's a Chinese person, there was a Vietnamese person who spoke Vietnamese, but of the northern accent. And then there was a couple Filipino actors in it as well. We did try to see how they would take to some of Vietnamese lines, but it definitely didn't come through. So that's when I made the decision to go ahead and make the piece like pretty much no dialogue,
Mhm.
and let a score carry it through.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Like not even wanting to use dialogue. What was that moment like for you? Like when was it? Were you writing and like drafting, and then you were like, you know what? Just like forget the script.
Yeah, I think it was just like, you know what? I can do this. Like, I
Mhm.
just show action. I'm very into the scoring process of filmmaking. I am so obsessed over score. So I was like, let me try to do this. I watched, I think there were some other shorts at the time that had no dialogue, just to see like, am I bored? Do I need dialogue? Because I think a lot of the times people like kind of cram dialogue in there when you can just
Yeah.
tell so much by just letting the viewer kind of think for themselves and just watch. And music also does so much, can take you to every mood and any mood that it wants, really. When I did find that actor kind of late in the game that I was telling you about that spoke Vietnamese but had a northern accent, I did decide to use him as one of the people who had caught the family within the film, so that because it just played to what was actually going on with the Viet Cong, So
Hmm.
it just kind of played with it, and I was like, well, I'm going to use this to my advantage and have him kind of to speak, since he spoke fluent Vietnamese.
Hmm.
Other than him, no one else really spoke. And then at the end of production and after post, we had a premiere to graduate. We had almost filled up the Brava Theater in the city, and I decided to bring a live orchestra to come and play along with the piece. So it was quite moving for everyone involved, and my family came out as well. And then we have A Boy, which is a more current piece and still in development. We've recently filmed the proof of concept short to it. It is a story about, her name is Mads as of now, who is also me, struggling to come out in the 90s. So this is a period piece. I feel like I like period pieces. I have a real appreciation for taking us there, with working with production designers and kind of making this feel, it's an extra challenge that I'm willing to definitely take anytime.
Hmm.
So this piece is also about abuse. My father abused me pretty much like my entire life until I moved out. So there's just a lot going on there for her, and her Asian American experience growing up in the 90s in a predominantly white school as well. So there's a lot going on here. It's a coming of age story. I'm currently on the second revision of the feature screenplay. We've gotten to some festivals with the short. The short did not have the Asian American aspect in it. So
Hmm.
that is what we are workshopping with the second revision. And once that, I think, gets in there, it's going to be a totally different script almost, but for the better.
So, having these being like personal experiences, what's it like to like entrust people with your personal story and getting them involved? Like, what was that process for you, or I guess ongoing process?
Yeah. So with the short, there's a scene at the end that was pretty sad for Mads that you don't really see coming. And my mom was there sitting in that scene, as she had flown out to be on set, and she's never been on set with me, and it's crazy that we're both sitting here and literally staring at a monitor, and next to us is an actor who is playing a scene that we've experienced.
Yeah.
It was unreal, the feeling. I was holding back tears. The entire room was holding back tears. We did one take because I really wanted it to be organic and let it happen, and not rehearsed and feeling like everyone, we were in it
Hmm.
for this one take. And I think I look over to my mom expecting, like, I don't even know what I was expecting, but I look over and she's like totally stoic and doesn't say a word. And I say, are you okay? She's like, yeah. But I think that, like, for all the reasons that I know about my mother, like, I just know that, like, definitely struck a chord with her. But like, I think communication has always been, a stereotype of like Asian Americans and like saying I love you and all these. So I think she was just like, I don't know what she was feeling. We haven't talked about it. I should ask her about it, but I definitely knew it. She felt something, but didn't know how to really show that. A lot of the crew members didn't know this was a true story, and they were like, this is like, what is going on? And then
Hmm.
after that, you heard like this wave of whispering, like, this is what happened to Mai. Like, they're like, what? They're like,
Hmm.
and then they would come up to me like, Mai, that was a true story. And I had people coming up to me to cry and say, I'm so sorry. Thank you for, letting me be a part of this. A lot of people that were on the crew have written to me after production being like, this really helped me. One person was telling me that they had lost a relationship with a parent, and just like kind of rekindled that from everything that happened on our set. Some others told me that it's inspired them to do things that they didn't think they'd be wanting to do. So it just feels good to just all around be helping people. And that's what I want this film to really do, to be a throwback for those who know everything that's going on in it, and then to really just help anyone in any way, in any of the different circumstances that Mads is in.
It's beautiful to see like people just being honest with you. You know what I mean? It's a true story. So, you know what I mean? You can't help but just let those emotions come to the surface. And that's awesome to hear like your crew was just like, dang, I need to like talk to my, you know what I mean? And just like
Like, is
let
she
her
okay?
know. Yeah. And just like talk about that. Like, it's kind of like therapy in a way, you
Oh
know?
my God, this process
Yeah.
was so cathartic. I think me making this film and seeing this feature through is not only just to share this with other people, but this is my form of healing. And I think that I need this for myself. My father has never talked to me about the abuse, nor has he apologized for it. Deep down, do I wish he would that he did? I'm not sure, but also the other part of me, the challenger side of me, is like, you know what? I kind of hope he doesn't apologize to me soon, because this ammo that I have right now built up in me is great, and really going towards what's happening in the screenplay right now.
Yeah, and just seeing the fruition of your art too, like that's so amazing to see. Like, yeah, like you can turn things that might, you know, have this kind of weighing kind of burden on you into something beautiful. You know what I mean? That's your outlet, that's your
Yeah.
release. And that's so cool. Like, all power to you, Mai. Like, that's awesome.
Thank
And that takes a
you.
lot of bravery, you know what I mean, to be honest about two stories now. You know what I mean? Now you're on A Boy, you've done Budai, and you're seeing A Boy turn into a feature, and just going through that process, you know, you
I
can't
mean, the
escape it,
bravery
you
is
know?
just not all there. So
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. I'm not just like out of the gate being like, I'm ready to tell my whole story,
Yeah.
because I have sat on, a lot of
Mhm.
stories. I've sat on this feature for a while. Like, the first draft was just like
Mhm.
done for quite a bit. And it took me a long time to realize that, like, what am I doing?
Mhm.
I need to be braver than this. I'm not putting like everything in there. I need to just put everything in there. I felt like I was still kind of beating around the bush on certain subjects and things, because it's like,
Mhm.
it was what I was thinking and what I was feeling. So like, it's something that I've also been learning and kind of battling. So this whole time, I'm
Right.
like, I come back and I'm like, I'm ready to tell that story. So I'll find it in the script and be like, let me tell it like it really was, instead of putting that like framework and storytelling or just what's good to see. Or
Mhm.
not okay to see. Like, I'm just going to write exactly what I felt, what I saw, what I went through, and see how that reads to people, and we'll see. But I think once I get to a point where I have all of me in it, I have all of the stories, all of the experiences, all of the sadness and the triumph in there, I think I will be able to share this with people who I trust and are able to give me, constructive criticism and feedback, and hopefully just get the script to a point where we can start sharing it with people who can direct us the right way to get this thing made.
Hearing you talk about it and hearing the excitement, it makes me excited. And it's like, oh my God, like this is why we do what we do. You know what I mean? Like having film and just expressing ourselves through this medium. It's so beautiful. It's
Yeah, I
awesome.
mean, the power that we have with media
Hmm.
and filmmaking and the storytelling and being able to have, someone you'll never see in your entire life, nor even hear of, on the other side of this world, watch your film and be impacted or feel something from it, or an emotion be evoked, or just something, or just be, relatable to them at this tiniest bit, I think is just enough for me.
Getting into more of like the technical stuff, you know, applying
Mm-hmm.
to film festivals, and what has been like the application process. Like, how do you know where to send your film? You know what I mean? Like, because we were talking about like every festival is different and every process is different for those festivals. Yeah. So what is that process like for you?
I think that because of A Boy, I've learned so much about, the entire festival circuit. So first off, I think, so once you have a film, I suggest that you obviously share it with your cast and crew and everyone involved in it, and show them their appreciation of what they've made. And then I think when you're ready and have, maybe some close people looking at it and done with the feedback process and feel like you've got something that you're ready to show the world, you can find platforms. There used to be one called Without a Box, but now it's called, there's another one now called, that everyone pretty much uses, called Film Freeway. And
Mm-hmm.
so on here, you can upload your film and it'll like kind of have it there for you to submit to festivals. I think the best thing about festivals is that, after having gone to some of them, the people that I've met from them, the different films that I would probably never get to see to see these filmmakers and creatives from all over the world is just phenomenal. And just to see where everyone else is, I think that's an amazing experience that you can't really get anywhere else. And then you start to get into like the way they curate the festival and the style of the kind of films that they like to have, or just like the next level. Like when you get into it, like, okay, I really like there, or well, you know what, I think I can see myself here, or I definitely could not see myself as part of this festival, or they would probably not like my type of film that I want to make. And then it comes to cost. There are a lot of costs with submitting to festivals. I mean, that shouldn't scare you off or anything like that, because I do think one thing that people don't know is that, like, honestly, reach out to them. I have just literally emailed them straight from Film Freeway and just been like, hey, are you guys offering any waivers or discounts? And another way to limit costs is to really do your research on who the festival is. And I think instead of going out there and just applying to a million festivals, why not try to really curate your own and where you belong? Just like, who would really enjoy this film, and where do you think this belongs, and with other films with it, like, you know, where does this stand? Figuring out where you belong and where you think you belong, and then having some like goals that you should definitely just kind of go for, I think is where you should start to kind of not break the bank on that one. So things to think of ahead of time. Things like when you get into the applying, they ask you for posters, which a lot of people don't think about while they're filming. A website, they're probably going to want to look at a website and who you are and maybe what you're working on. A trailer for this. Are you thinking about this ahead of time? Like, what is the trailer going to feel like? So there's a lot of things happening at the same time that I think I learned along the way that I would be more than happy to share with a new filmmaker who's also entering the world of festival circuits. But I definitely have spent money and a lot of time and a lot of energy to learn this. And can I say that I know all of it? No, I don't. I'm sure there's people that know way more than I do, but I do feel like I have a good grasp of what it's like and how it has worked and has not worked for me personally.
Yeah, totally. That's great advice. Like, because recently I entered my first film into the festival circuit and I learned a lot of things.
Yeah.
I was not expecting even more from you just explaining that now. It's kind of scary, not gonna lie.
The scariest
Yeah.
part is that first rejection. You know, it's like this reject stamp on your forehead, and it's like, I'm so heartbroken. I would get so heartbroken that we got rejected to this film festival. We got this generic letter that, you know, me and however many thousand have also received. And then after a while, it's kind of like, okay, next time, you know, like trying to figure out next time, or, hey, I'm just not their style, you know, that's okay too. And it's a really tough competition. So this is like a really big, again, another personal competition and challenge for me that I hope to be able to be accepted to some festivals that I've had my eye on for a while now. So, totally. And then we can do it. You can do it too. So don't even sweat it.
Hey, thank you. So we talked a little bit about like you having different positions in the film industry as director, creative producer, assistant director. What's it like having multiple hats? And I guess what is the biggest lesson you've learned out of having multiple positions?
I think wearing multiple hats is pretty common when you're starting out and just trying to, you know, thinking that we can make that. We can easily look at that. We can make just that, you know, and then you finally figure out that like, whoa, you know, this is a whole other person that needs to be doing this and focused on this and only this. But the plus side of it is that I feel like, you know, with the program that with the SF film program and just kind of like my personality and how I like to just be able to be good at everything. I try my best. I've, you know, tried to get to a point in a lot of the roles in production, like sound and camera and obviously directing, because that's where I am going to be forever. I feel like I've been able to learn about how to interact with these people. What kinds of things are they thinking about that I can help them with? What are ways that they understand terminology or just how it is on set? Like, I feel like everyone on set has their role. We all come together to make something in the end, but at the same time, there's like ways in order to interact with certain people in certain roles, like how to speak to them and just kind of like what kinds of responsibilities they have so that I know, A, to make sure that I'm respecting them and their work and their time at all times, but also just how to get this oiled machine to continue to move together. Also with acting, at one point, I think within the first year of finishing the program, I saw a casting for this queer role. They were coming out to their Vietnamese mother and they were looking for the lead. And I was like, well, I'm going to go try this out. I mean, I've never acted before, nor do I have a passion to act. I mean, people have told me that I should definitely do some comedy or something, but I mean, who knows? Who knows, you know? So I went to that audition and something about it was like, I told myself before I went in there, I was kind of nervous because like I've never done that before, but also like I wanted to make sure that I really took the experience in and knew what it felt like to be in the role of an actor, an actor coming to audition for a role and having these directions from the director or producer or whoever was going to be inside there, and to let go of that. Like I wasn't a director when I walked into that door. I was like, I'm going to take this experience and I'm just going to be an actor today. It was interesting to just see how it felt. I took a lot of what I learned there into how I interact with actors that I work with too. I don't know. I just feel like putting myself in the people's shoes has really helped me understand them and have a relationship with those that I've worked with.
Tell us a little bit more about the work that you do here at BAYCAT.
So at BAYCAT, 9 to 5, I am a creative producer here at BAYCAT. So I work on the creative process. I come up with the creative concepts for clients and partners. So I pretty much work a lot with our creative director. And, you know, we come up with these pieces that help these different organizations. And it just feels really good to be able to make such meaningful and rewarding work that helps another organization who's also doing the same. I feel like since starting at BAYCAT, I've felt a great balance between like me and working on A-Boy and having my personal projects and then having something different to go and to work on every day and continue to create and to make this meaningful work on the other side of things. I feel pretty balanced with where things are right now for me. Also, ever so grateful for BAYCAT and working with interns and having that experience. I feel like I love to share my experiences and what I've gone through to help, you know, young people who are also interested. I mean, if I were to be able to take back the past 20 years and start a lot earlier in the game, you know, who knows where I could be right now. So it's amazing to have BAYCAT and to have this opportunity to help other young people who are interested in filmmaking and want to be heard and just making, you know, these other pieces for socially minded clients as well. I really like the fact that I've made a new kind of family, especially during COVID. Like a lot of the freelancers when COVID hit were just racing for unemployment, you know, reaching out and asking for any roles that I've heard of or let them know if I hear of anything. And to be, you know, brought onto the BAYCAT studio team literally 3 days before shelter in place started in March was definitely a blessing in so many ways, not just financially, but just like, I mean, this is like my family every day to talk to. It's like, I kind of feel like it's become part of my new community, right? BAYCAT. I'm very proud to be part of this BAYCAT community and hope to continue to be a part of it and grow it.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, like having that opportunity and just a place where you can continue to be creative amidst all this is definitely is a blessing. And I'm happy to be here as well as, you know, I'm an intern. It's been a pleasure to meet you and everyone and just get to know everyone's background and stuff like that. It's been awesome.
I can't wait to see what kinds of things you guys are making and creating. And thank you for having me on this backstory with BAYCAT.
Totally. And before we wrap up, let's get your socials or anything you want to share with us in the community that's listening.
The IG handle is Metallic Films. That's M as in Mary, TLAC Films. Also, the website is also mtlacfilms.com. Please feel free to follow and check out the website and hop on our road to the future to just come along with us on this ride that we'll be on for a while. And if you are out there, continue to create. Don't stop. And I cannot wait to hear your voice.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast today and for having a little combo with me.
Of course, Asha. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us today on Backstory with BAYCAT. If you enjoyed our conversation, please subscribe and leave a review for our podcast. All social media handles and website links mentioned are in the show notes below. Until next time, stay creative.